During his State of the Nation address, President Salva Kiir has downplayed the United Nations warning that up to 5 million South Sudanese are in danger of going hungry. Instead, he claims only a few regions face possible food shortages.
The government is aware of the failure of crops last year in the region, and so steps are being taken to mitigate the potential famine in that area. Towards this end, the government will increase the supply of basic food commodities in the area with the provision for subsidized prices.
President Kiir has also announced that his government will coordinate these plans with aid agencies operating in the country.
The government will ensure that all humanitarian and development organizations have unimpeded access to the needy populations across the country.
Turning to the struggling economy, Kiir says new teams have been installed at the Finance Ministry and Central Bank. Their first task is to lead South Sudan out of the current economic crisis.
If you can see these reforms being made, and we continue to focus on more reforms, then the country will stabilize. What we want is that it should not be one ministry agenda. Reform is not one person agenda. Reform is the entire system agenda.
Many residents, however, say they want to see actions rather than words. More than 200,000 South Sudanese are still living under UN protection, dependent on aid. Ongoing unrest has prevented those who have remained in their homes from farming, which has contributed to the food shortages. President Kiir is urging international donors to finance developmental projects to aid the implementation of the 2015 peace deal. But as reports of clashes continue to emerge, insecurity is preventing many residents from carrying out economic activities that would stabilize the country. Patrick Oyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
Let's get more from Richard Bestick, who joins us live from London. So, Richard, $125 million each for South Sudan and Somalia, obviously a relief for millions on the brink of famine in those countries. How soon will the UK disburse this aid?
Well, clearly, these famines are of biblical proportion. The aid is desperately needed if lives are to be saved. And time is something that victims have very little of. Britain's International Development Secretary, Priti Patel, has been drawing attention, though, to the wider picture across the Horn of Africa, not just in Somalia and South Sudan, but in the Yemen as well. It's a combination of drought and armed conflict that's created what Patel calls a series of unprecedented humanitarian crises. She's been out in the region within the last couple of weeks, and I think she returned to London chastened by her experience. In her words, she said, we must act now to help innocent people who are starving to death. According to Patel's department, more than 6 million people in Somalia have no reliable access to food, and 1/3 children are acutely malnourished. There are fears here that Somalia could be on the precipice of a famine as bad or worse than the one in 2011, which killed an estimated 260,000 people.
Now, humanitarian agencies have warned that unless there is meaningful peace and security, this assistance may not reach the targeted communities. So how concerned is the British government about insecurity in these two countries?
Well, I think that probably encapsulates the view from London, at least. The famine is caused by a deadly combination of drought and armed conflict, and without addressing the root causes of that conflict, Britain's $250 million will in reality be little more than sticking plaster over a continuing crisis. According to Priti Patel's department, almost 5 million people in the region face the daily threat of going without enough food and water, and 3 million have been forced from their homes because of violence and widespread rape. Mike Noyes of the poverty charity ActionAid has said the UK's contribution was vital, but said it should only sound the alarm for the wider international community.
Richard Bestick joining us live in London. Richard, many thanks for that.